Hey, what's up? I'm a very good looking guy and stuff like that. I give myself a 7 out of 10 and stuff like that. Just in this video right now, just what I can see. But when my hair is a little bit different, it can go down to a 4, 6.5, 5, 4. And my body is not as good as it used to be. But body shouldn't matter. I'm a face guy. Oh. I feel very clean. And a lot of my presidential vlogs are going to age really well. Some of them, not as much. But that's okay, because I change all the time. I originally had my calling subsidized and multiplied by schizophrenia and stuff like that. But something that I've really thought about. This calling is an asymmetric net positive. Trump, when he ran the second time as a Republican, he's thinking, yeah, it's a joke, but you never know. He was a 100-to-1 underdog. And, you know, most of those guys will lose a lot. And he had something other than money. Because there's been rich people who have run and they just don't make it. But there was something genuine and authentic about him. And I would like to say I have all that stuff. I'm not as funny as him in the way that he's funny. I'm a different kind of funny. If you like his sense of humor more, then you'll like him more. But I am a keen sense of humor. I'm in the Norm Macdonald branch of humor, and he is not very funny on some of his jokes, but the way that he says it is really good. He's like really good at the way he says it. So I aspire to be like that. And some of his jokes are really good, and they have lots of depth and layers. He likes to throw evil people under the bus. Even just like rich celebrities that don't do anything with their money, that are just like nasty. He'll dunk on them, which is nice. He was a comedy judge at an event, and this guy comes up there and he does this Harry Potter joke where the Bible's like Harry Potter. And yeah, why are you talking about my books? And something's just a dumb joke, and Norm's like, I didn't like it. And he's not a Christian, he's not a follower of Christ, but he believes in God, and he probably has a view of God that's, it could be a lot worse, put it like that. But just the way he would bash evil, he would bash O.J. Simpson a lot. O.J. Simpson may or may not have gotten away with something really bad there, but hey, the court found him innocent, or not guilty rather. Good lawyers, stuff like that. But I had a dream. I was off Vancouver and I was pulled over by Spaceballs cops. And there's pretty much only one way to interpret that dream. It's like, I'm going to be falsely accused as a joke. And it's like, I can explain. And it's just like, yeah, we have entropy of you, but we need you to go to jail for a little bit so that you could get falsely accused, so you could get extremely popular through the media or something like that. So if you see me in jail, it could be a spot where God has this bigger macro plan. Of course, I mean, I have been in jail before. I was praying a lot about the LDS Church and the Mormon Church, and I thought it was demonic, but I wasn't fully convinced, and I was going there with the Lord, and I was like, Lord, help me through these. And I would go from being like 100% sure it's demonic, okay, I'm out. And then the Lord's like, no, like, keep working on the project. And I was like, okay. And then I go back and I think about it. I was like, okay, maybe it's 99% or 90. And then I get to 50, and then it was so stressful and spiritually, it was a spiritual whorish buffet of just craziness. And a lot of people, they've never changed their theology in their life. They grew up LDS or they grew up Christian. Or the one that needs to change is if you grew up atheist. But some people, they just grow up and they say, well, whatever this is, it is what it is. I'm going to go through it. Then they live with their single conscience. But they never change theology. But for me, I changed 20 to 50 times depending on how you define it. I was extremely stressed spiritually, but a lot of people couldn't handle it. I did. I could handle it. I was like, well, it's all worth it, and it's all very important. It's all very important stuff, you know. But I'm in a good mood. I just posted some what I think A- minus to A plus, or sorry, B plus to A plus posts on YouTube, or sorry, Facebook. I just got the professional grade sponsorship on Facebook, so I could start making as much as 1 or 2 cents per post. They're gonna post advertisements by my post, I think, and I'm gonna develop followers without getting friends. And I just want the righteous to know some of my wicked posts, they seem wicked. I have a very special brand where I can say nasty things. And I am quasi-autistic, so I don't really care what people think, which helps. Because if you care what people think, it really breaks your heart. However, I care about what God thinks, and sometimes if God is not quasi-autistic, put it like that. He's the opposite. He's very sensitive to people's feelings, and he cares. Now, sometimes he wants people to feel bad if they're reaping what they sow, but if it's a free will situation, let's say I have 6 children and they're all on good standing, and then my son, my second oldest son, hits my youngest daughter because, I don't know, she finally beat him in tic-tac-toe or something, and she's like, yeah, and he punches her, pushes her. Well, it's like there's feelings being exchanged, and that hurts my feelings as a parent, right? That's just an example that came to my head. I'm gonna go get some orange juice. I did have a dream today during a nap, where I jokingly denied Airbud for some black dog with for some golden retriever with black eyes. And it was kind of how I talk to anti-Mormons. I know they're single, double, triple, or quadruple reprobated. So there's not a lot that you could say to them where it's like, oh, they would have been Mormon if I had just been a little nicer and a little sweet. No, it's actually the opposite. If you want to give them a chance to be Mormon, you gotta push-pull, you gotta give them some ground. And it's still not gonna work, but I like to strengthen them and then crush them, build up trust, crush them for, in my words, and I build a brand. Listen, the LDS Church is maybe a little bit off here, and here. And a lot of this stuff I forget about it, because you really have to think about, you really have to make Joseph the false prophet for a second. And then you say, okay, now everything looks creepy and weird and wrong. And then you can start poking holes in the religion. But for me, in my worldview, Joseph Smith is true. And it's not, oh, he's true and false at the same time. I've had that worldview too, which is very strange. But for me, he's just true. And I have the 11 or 13 dreams now. But this first 7 was all I needed. But I'll get them. I'll get those dreams. And I'll stack them. It's better to have 13 than 12. But you only really need 1. But for me, with my testimony, I was so drunk on the anti-side, had so much anti-knowledge, and I was basically a zealot on that side. And I was basically Saul, and I turned into Paul with the dreams. And, you know, the dumbest thing anti-Mormons teach and preach is don't pray about it. they think you're going to get deceived by a false spirit. Well, go to the real God in prayer. Don't let anyone come around. If you're deceived, then that's because you have too much sin in your life. So repent of sins. Go to the biggest God you can go to. Ask if the church is false, Moroni 10, 3-5, for example. Ask if the Book of Mormon's false, and there is that little chance that the highest God you're going to is some anti-Mormon creep God. And then he tells you. But at that point, you tell the missionaries, the anti-Mormon creep God told me that the church is false, and now I'm here to bash it, and that's where God wants you, because you're there to increase and help our faith. Like, without an adversary, we don't have, it's just not the same. I've talked to sister missionaries where they said, well, one of the reasons I'm LDS is because the other side is so ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense to me. Like the anti-Mormon, the con theory makes no sense. I said, I'm with you there. The demonic theory makes no sense. And I said, okay, well, maybe we're thinking about different demons. But I have a very, well, in the past, I've had a very high view of demons where they can take over a church and have, for example, a Catholic church with 2 billion members, and the top 10,000 people are all wicked and demonic and all that. But with a different worldview, my cousin has a worldview where it's like, you know, I don't think the devil's taken over the world and in that way, and I like to see the world as more good. NDEs are generally love dominant, God dominant. It's not like the devil is winning the World Series every year in those NDEs. Now, some of them, they go to hell, but that's God sending them for short-term discipline, because obviously they got out. Some people go longer than we think, but ultimately it's a temporary hell. LDS theology, you're looking at sons of perdition. And I did see a video the other day where the bottomless pit was actually a pleasure comfort heaven hell mixer, and you can't get out because you're so addicted to pleasure and comfort, and no one wants to leave it. And it's God's wrath putting someone in there, because now they're stuck there. They only grow 1% every 2 million years. It's hard to grow when you're feasting on pleasure and comfort. It's just lame, and this world is the exact opposite for a lot of people. There are some princes and kings and Jaden Smith, and you know, it's like, okay, there's some comfortable people here, and America can be comfortable, and some jobs can be comfortable. But look at the other countries, and look at a lot of people in America that are broke. Ecclesiastes 7 verse 2, it says, better to be in a house of mourning than a house of feasting. There's no way, like, you can grow millions of years in a single decade by being on the other side of the world, parched for water every second of every day, don't know when your next meal is coming from, you're 10 minutes away from death, and then someone gives you a glass of water, and you're like, oh, okay. And God's just like, that's how I like it. And he trusts you with the reins, he trusts you with the horses, he trusts you with not betraying him, NOT, when you get to heaven, because you just went through all this stuff. Whereas the comfort-driven guy, he has his wife, and the first thing he's offered when he gets to heaven, here's money, here's what money buys, here's cities, here's this. Can I buy your wife for 1.25 trillion heaven tokens? And the guy's like, no, but I'll do it for 3 trillion. The guy says, okay, and buys the wife. And then God says, so why did you just do that? Whereas, you know, some other guy in Africa, he says, over my dead body, how are you in heaven? He says, it's a test. You passed it. The point is, the guy in Africa loves his wife. The pleasure, comfort guy. He hasn't learned to love. He hasn't grown. He prefers pleasure to his wife. There's this guy, I like him still, but I think he's a creep. I'll just say that. Creep in the regular definition, which is a detestable person. He's failed tests. He's a creep. I asked him, what would you rather have? Perfect memory or a perfect wife? It's such a disrespectful question. He's single. He's been married and divorced. Oh, perfect memory. Well, I guess it wasn't a stupid question. Like, there's a reason why God let that roll off my tongue. God's just thinking, I'm 90+% sure he's going to go with memory. Come on. I mean, first of all, a perfect wife can have a good memory for you. That's just, put that to the side. Perfect wife. She's going to pray with you. Make sure you read the scriptures this week. Make sure you pray this hour. She's going to sit there and pray with you over, like, for 10 minutes. This guy's never prayed for more than 10 minutes in his life. He has the first 10 chapters of Romans memorized. He loves the Bible more than prayer. He loves the Bible more than his wife. To be fair, he did say he would use the memory to teach, and you could really take over the world with a good memory. But you could take over the world with a good wife. And having kids and everything that goes with that. I mean, I would rather be a little bit closer to God than have a perfect wife. And that's why Paul's writings in 1 Corinthians 7 was so confusing. It doesn't mesh perfectly with LDS. And you have to read it in a way, and he was writing as a man, which really helped me. Because he's just thinking, listen, this is a one-dimensional perspective. I don't have a wife. I look around, there's a bunch of broads. None of them would be that great, but I would have sex with them. And you should get married and have sex. It's better to marry than to burn. But the women back then weren't scholars like today. You could literally marry a theologian, a girl with a theologian degree. That's not the same as back then. Context of how women went from women to super women as far as the righteous. Now, the wicked women have gotten worse. A wicked woman today is worse than a wicked woman back then. You can only do so much damage back then. But you can do a lot of damage now as a woman if you're wicked. And just the sexual revolution, you got to watch out for all that stuff. I was thinking the other day, why don't I go to Granada High School as a guest speaker and just sign up, maybe tell them my speech, what I'm going for, and to just teach the kids about chastity. Don't need to ram Jesus Christ down their throats. Although if they're already Christian, I'll bring it up and enforce it. If you're not already Christian, I'll do extremely super soft evangelism to them, but I won't like, hey, you gotta believe this because I'm a guest speaker. No, I'll answer any questions you guys have, but I'm here to ram chastity down your throat. No matter what your worldview is, abstinence is good all the way, everywhere. And if you're a really wicked guy, you could not listen. But when I was in high school, and I'll do it for free. I'm not gonna like ask for anything. It's just the best advice I have is run to Christ. But somewhere in the top 15 is like, I don't know how bad my life would be. I mean, guys who have sex, they told me this, all you think about all day is pussy now. And it's supposed to be your wife's pussy. Oh my gosh, I need to love my wife. Oh my gosh, that's why that mechanic is there. But now it's like, oh my gosh, I need to find a new girl. The new one feels slightly better. This fornication I need to feed the fornication demon. And it's like, my penis has these demands. Or for women, their vagina has these demands now. And it's like, you know, I heard the song, "The First Love is the Deepest." And it's like, that's crazy. And it's almost like all this Bible stuff is true. Have you ever thought of that? Just from the sex part of life. It's not just you put the penis in and there's an orgasm and then it's like nothing happens. Other than that, it's like masturbation times 3. No, it's like soul tie, demons, ruins your life, ruins your thought life. I can't imagine what it's like. I mean, I can actually, because when you try to go 3 to 10 months without masturbating, usually after 7 days to 10 days, you think about jacking off or masturbating or sexual fantasies. And sometimes you can't even get rid of the fantasies that pop into your head. So I imagine it'd be like that, except with the actual thing. And I lost these straps. Yeah, I knew I needed to tie them. Oh no, I can get it. I can get it back later. Okay. I just bought 3 short. There was a $26 was the cheapest pair of shorts on eBay. on all of eBay, 26 bucks. And then there was 3 of them for 30. So I got that. It was 10 bucks each. Brand new too. So I was talking to God the other day, and I said, is getting a good deal, like, is that associated with Mammon 1? Like, oh my gosh, a good deal. God is very jealous of your feelings and your big feelings. If you're the type of person to yell every day, okay, God's not going to be super, judgmental of your yelling. He is, but he isn't. But if you yell once a year, the whole cosmos looks up and he's like, why are they yelling now? Why is the beta yelling? And if it's over something stupid, you're going to get judged really hard for that. You're not a yelling person, and the one time you yell. I want to share a story of the first time I ever yelled. And I was serving a bowling demon. It was, I thought I was a lot better than I was. And I was really, really good. And I bowled a perfect game in high school, only to bowl another perfect game the next week at a different house. And it's just, when you get the ball coming off your hand really well, and then you just remember how to do it again and again and again, you can feel the ball hitting, and then you can adjust by taking off 1 or 2% speed, and then now it comes in really nice. And that's the whole sport. When you're in the 1% of people who could do it, if the ball comes off your hand, well, you're just good at the game. Well, it turns out 1 in 100 people can do it, so there's, okay, 0.1%, 3 million people who could bowl really well. But they find out, it's not for me. I'm going to get a higher paying job. And for whatever reason, I thought I was the only one who could do it. And there's at least 3,000 people better than me. And in the PBA. But I was veiled, and I didn't know, and I thought I was the cheese, and I thought I was going to keep getting better too. But I never got better. It was just 220 something average. But I remember the meanest thing I ever said to someone. I said, that's how you know you throw a bad ball. He threw my bowling ball when I had 7 strikes in a row. And the ball just hooked right away and went to the gutter. And I said, that's how you know you throw a bad ball. And he was like, yeah, okay. And it was Kyle. I said that to Kyle. And then, he drove at work for like 5 hours and was depressed. He forgot what I even said. But I did say sorry. I said sorry, and but I had the first 7 strikes in a row, and he threw my bowling ball, and I was just so mad, because it's like, I'm trying to get another perfect game here, my legacy. And I was at this bowling tournament, and it was like, something. Handicap. Scotch doubles. Very difficult tournament to run. But I play the odd frames. Zach bowls the even frames. And it's handicap. So he gets 10 pins a game, and I get 0. Because he's a 202 book, and I'm a 220 book. Okay. Middle of the first game ends, we bowl 250 or 240 or something, and we're leading the tournament nicely, and everything's going well. And I noticed we have 20 pins of handicap instead of 10. And I immediately knew he forgot to divide by 2. He was giving everyone 2 games worth of handicap, 1 game each player, and instead of dividing it by 2, he just gave us the full handicap. So now we're getting 20 instead of 10, which seems like a blessing to us. But there's people getting 60 a game that should be getting 30. And there was even a team getting 100 when they should be getting 50. So we had to start shooting 250s just to break even and to stay where we are, and they could shoot their average and they would be 260. Did this make me angry? Yes. So I kept telling him, he's my coworker, I work there, but I was so mad, and it was a lot of money for me, and I was bowling really well, and it was unjust, and it was wicked. So I started complaining and telling him, hey, don't do that, and finally he just cuts me off and says, I'm not going to talk to you, I didn't get it wrong, this is the format. And then I asked for all my money back for handicap brackets, but there was only like one person in it, or like one bracket, so I only saved $5. The scratch brackets can stay because there's no handicap, and we ended up taking second in the tournament, but with the double handicap we took 7th, and they paid the top 5, so they just stole all that money. And I was yelling, and I was like super mad. I was thinking about putting in my 2-week notice, and which would have been really good. Really good. The guy did not want me working there after a while, but it was so humbling. I was putting my shoulders down. Oh, I was working for these atheists, and the next day he finds out he was wrong, and he paid out all the wrong people, and everyone, there was guys drinking, they bowled like under their average, yet they won the tournament because they got an extra, 300 pins that they shouldn't have got, and they're just like drinking, yeah, first place. And I stopped going to his tournaments, held a grudge there, but finally he said, you want to go to the tournament on Saturday? I won't mess it up this time. And I was like, aw, of course. And that was his apology. That was his flavor of apologizing. And I think God's just thinking, okay, it's legit yell there, but we're talking about bowling right now. And it's like, Jesus would say, someone takes your cloak, give him your tunic as well, and stuff like that. It's just a book of Proverbs spot. And everyone else was like, all the other good bowlers were like bowling really bad, so they were going to lose anyway, and they're just like, they didn't really get it, and just like, what? Maria got it. She was like, whoa. Later, she's like, wow. Her son was in the tournament, but he was like last place. But she's just like, I can't believe he did that. And obviously he never ran a doubles tournament ever again. He was probably horrified, petrified. He just kept running singles after that. But he's not a big math guy. But I wanted to tell him the example. If two guys had a 0 average, 0, they bowled gutter balls every single moment of their life, they would have a 180 because it's 90%. Or they'd have a, 190 something. And if they shot all gutters, it'd be 190. So they get 190 pins a game. But if there was 2 people, it would be 300 and, let's just say it's 180. It'd be 360 pins a game with all gutter balls. And if Zach and I shot a 300, it would be a 320. So we'd lose by 40 to a team with all gutter balls. And that's the only thing I wanted to tell him. Hey, just so you know, if there's 2 guys with a 0 average, they're going to shoot a 360 every game, bowling their average, which is a 0. And that analogy and that example would have made it so obvious, but because I was his coworker. He treated me like that. Anyways, the point of the story is God wants me to be angry like that for more things. The big sins, the sin like abortion, right? If you go to someone who's really pro-life, who thinks it's a baby in there, like my thing is more, why am I not so angry at abortion? It's because first of all, there's nothing I don't think there's much I can even do. I could be wrong about that. I could want to try to, now, as president, I can shut down the whole system, which is the main reason God wants me in there. And once I do it, then I can start raising my voice. But I don't think raising my voice too much is going to do anything, even though it will. The other thing is, I understand the depths of stupidity that other people have. They're very stupid. People don't get it. They don't understand life. They don't understand anything. And they think it's their body and their choice. And they're just very wicked. They have abortion demons. And it's the devil that you want to blame. And it's just a spot where it's just, hey, it is what it is. With my bullying thing, it was affecting me right away. And I had a bullying demon. I don't have a pro-life angel. I do, but I don't have like a legion of them. Like,